Everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are gonna read another Your Boyfriend fanfiction. This time it's Fear Me Not from Archive of Our Own by Obsidian or Obsidian Rainbow. Summary. So when you died, that should be game over, right? Move on to the great beyond. Nevada, heaven, the usual stuff you could hear about after death. Well, you got reincarnated. Good news. It's a world you're familiar with. Bad news. It's a dull, gray video game world where only a single town and a handful of characters have any resemblance of personality and or color, and the only person you have any hopes of gaining some much needed interpersonal contact with is a yandere. The rooms surrounding people and slow passing of time have worn away much of your sanity. So much so, in fact, your brain developed a nasty little habit of screwing with your fear response, pumping you full with so much god-darn adrenaline, you become the biggest thrill-chaser trying to look for your next fear fixes with delight. But you like to think you're well adjusted as can be. So what happens when a little adrenaline junkie with no fear of fear itself purposely tracks down a seriously sweet and disturbed yandere with very little understanding of boundaries and in a session? It was for disaster. Chapter 1. The player has entered the game. You died, of course. That was a complete bummer for you. You had learned from the concept of death fairly young and had come to terms with the fact that you would also end up dying sooner or later. Not long after that, you would say that you didn't fear death. You just feared how it would take you into its brace. Because a masochist, you were not. Heck, your own personal motto was not on my to-do list, but it doesn't faze me. Still, though, kind of sucked. It had to happen on your 24th birthday. Not that you really blamed anyone for the circumstances. A bunch of little tiny bitty unchecked things had circulated an explosion of scurry. Quite literally. No one could have predicted the Italian restaurant you and your family were heading towards to celebrate the occasion had a disgruntled employee had recently been fired and had a copy of the keys for the back door, or that they would knock out one of the chefs, cut the active gas line in a remote corner of the kitchen, or that they would set it to light before being found by the owner and having a wrestle match that devolved into an all-out brawl that spilled onto the eating area where you and approximately 50 other people were join the exquisitely made cuisine. Or that your table was the one closest to the kitchen because you liked watching the chefs work. You were trapped between your cushions in a booth part of the table. Okay, so maybe it wasn't so teeny bitty, but come on. For all that to go down and you just be the terrible unlucky person that was marked for death, Curly Fate had gone through a lot of trouble just to set that all up. And since you had warned the rest of your family just in time before the flames even took, you honestly thought it would be rude to snatch any other lives away from death's jaws, so you just accepted it. Hardly anyone's fault, besides the one butthole, obviously. And you were quite happy that you were out of out with a hero sacrifice. Like a lot of animes and cartoons you constantly watched. At least you could say you died in style. And the force of the explosion itself killed you before you could even feel your body being seared to a crisp. Now, if only the afterlife was as rewarding as people said it would be for heroic deeds. You had to be honest with yourself. You never thought you were anything special in your past life, like in a immediately eye-catching type of sense. All your odds sparking attributes were tucked deep inside yourself, surrounded by a concentrated barrier of awkward. And please don't bully me. I had enough trauma in my life. You had grown into what you like to think as a compassionate, kind, and loving individual hidden behind a veneer of quiet politeness and an absent-minded daydreaming of your interest. Truthfully, only select close family members and a small gaggle of online friends knew who the real you was, to agree. In all honesty, there were things about yourself that you didn't think your dearly loved ones would handle, but that was okay. They loved you better than you had ever loved yourself, something you cherished with all your heart. You digress. The whole point was you had never thought you of all people would be the type of to be reincarnated into a whole alternate reality. You had read quite a lot of fanfiction in your past life. Heck, you had written a few that there was something about story writing that was so invigorating. And of course, you had imagined yourself as a protagonist of a great adventure, alternate timelines, and bring happy endings to various beloved characters that had helped you through many a depressed year. That'll definitely be a One Piece cast. But you knew that wasn't a possibility, so much as a disappointment and disappointed you. But you knew it wasn't possible, as much as it disappointed you. You knew early on that you had to resign yourself to being content from loving all your comfort characters and gentle crushes from whole universe away, or you lose your mind. You really didn't want to end up like one of those psycho chicks who become such a fangirl that they become hostile towards anyone else who thinks likes the character in question. So imagine your surprise when powers that be prove you wrong. After the immense blast of gas and heat, you had felt several hard knocks in the back of your head and neck, and a quick searing pain rocking through your spine and blurred your vision before it all went dark. Initialing download. Huh? Download complete. Download? Enabling user interface. Interface successful. Enabled. Enabling user menu. Menu successfully enabled. What's going on? Is this deaf? Initializing universal compatibility scan. Successful. Process with scan. Scan successful. Result. Oh dear. Unfortunate. I don't like the sound of that. Proceeding with compatible universe connection. Successful. Preparing transfer of critical files. Preparations complete. Notice confirmation of transfer required. User, do you wish to proceed with transfer? What are you asking me? Why are you asking me? Affirmative user, do you wish to proceed with transfer? I just died and have literally nothing else to do, so I guess. Confirmation received. Processing with erasure of previous world's data. Failed? Repeating attempt. Failed. Failed. Repeating attempt. Failed. Repeating attempt. Failed. Notice, previous world's data cannot be deleted. Continuing with transfer in the manual manner could result in various anomalous, anomalous side effects. User, do you wish to proceed? Sure. Very well. I. Proceeding with transfer. Transfer connected established proceeding. Good luck, user. Please stand by. Transfer completed. This will be interesting. You weren't sure when exactly you first regained awareness. In fact, you weren't sure that time was even a thing still. You felt lightless, as if you were floating. Until you weren't, you didn't. Suddenly you're still, anchored to one spot. The change was instant. So quick it left you already dizzy, mind spinning like a teacup's ride. You didn't know where you were. All you knew is that it was dark, it was hot, it was cramped, and you couldn't even move. You couldn't even feel your form. Oh, too much. And you couldn't see anything. But you had the oddest feeling that you scrunched up in a fetal position. It was honestly feeling a little bit claustrophobic now. I have a headache. Just your luck. Even in death, you weren't safe from random pains. Wait a minute. Wasn't the whole point of dying was that you weren't supposed to feel anything afterward? Or at least, that's what everyone assumed happened. After brain function ceased. And that's when it happened. Immense pressure composed you from all sides. Undulating, pulsing, squeezing. You couldn't help it. You panicked. It was as if there was a plug deep in the pit of your throat that prevented your voice from shrilling screaming out your displeasure. So you did the best thing. Physical struggling with all your might. At least that's what you think you're doing. You weren't losing energy fast, but you couldn't stop. You couldn't. You wouldn't. And then there was pain. You don't think you ever felt such a severe pain. It was mind-numbing, breathing, stealing, demolishing. And as any thoughts that you could have had. If you had to describe the pain, you imagine it was like having your entire being cruelly folding in half over and over again until you felt you couldn't be any bigger than a crumb of food. The pressure was all around your head, inside it. Your original headache escalating into a tense pounding that existed on making your brain bleed for a torturous amount of time, and then, after eternity, it abruptly stopped with a blissful nothingness. You rushed it for a long while, panting for sweet, cool breath as electric, hot fingers of agony after grip faded from your skin, which beaded with weaved sweat. Oh, I'll never take a leaf like this for granted ever again. Your hands balled into a tight fist as you shuddered on your back, hoping beyond hope they would never have to go through an experience like that again. Hold on, hands? You open your eyes. What the? It was statically impossible to survive a gas explosion of that magnitude, that close to ground zero. You knew that. So what could it possibly explain how you managed to live through that and have enough mental cohesion to realize that you were standing up at an absolutely nondescript gray ceiling? You could feel your brows furrowing as you stare at it, marveling at how unsettling and monotonely was. Ceilings weren't usually painted, and you knew that, but even so, it had a fan attached to it, also gray, only serving to make a worried ball of nerves in your stomach, tying them fur because it looked odd. It looked two-dimensional, as if it was just a drawing. Your face turned to the side. You bewildered and discombobulated, mine only just finally catching up with the fact that the cylinder bars were surrounding every side of the strangely cushioned thing you were laying on. An attempt was made to roll over and pursue what was clearly a makeshift bed. Prison thing that you were laying on, but your limbs refused to do what you wanted, jerking it in short, uncontrollable bursts towards the vaguest direction possible of where you wanted to go. You fell wildly in your panic, twisting and turning with soft whispers of fear and frustration as you wondered where the freak had all your motor functions gone. My hand! What? Gray. It only had 4 fingers. Both of them. So small. Why were your hands chubby? Why were your hands so short and stubby? No, horrified realization washed over you like icy water as you managed to flip onto your stomach with all the grace of a newborn baby, because that's what you were now. You had quite literally been reborn. The bed prison thing was a crib. The room you were in was a baby's room. A baby's room! Great toys of various shapes and sizes rested in the corner of the room that you could see. Underdeveloped muscles in your neck struggling to hold you up, hold your head long enough for you to even catch a glimpse of them. They looked unsettling too. You happily dropped your head back to the fabric underneath, and to escape what you could only describe as a black soulless dot for eyes on the stuffed animals glaring at you from across the room. You did gather some more helpful information, though. There was 2 windows on a door to a strange place, both gray, of course, but a different shade of it. Little comfort the difference gave you, but you still took it. And yet, despite the sunshine peeking in through the curtains of one of the windows, you still shook with terror as your mind tried to warn you that something just wasn't right here. And that's when it hit you. Why the entire room was so darn quieting to look at. No shadows. No objects that you could see cast any sort of shadow. Even with the light of early morning, there wasn't any dark in the room for it to chase away, nor did the small sun rays make anything easier to see than they already were. It was just gray. What kind of Peter Pan bullcrap is going on here? The more you looked around, the more terrified you become at such alien surroundings. Why was there no contrast? No light, no darkness, no color. So you did the only thing you could do at the time. You started crying. You bawled and wept and hollered out your fear and confusion to the ceiling, the world, and whatever cruel entity that was out there that had placed you into the situation without so much as a by your leave or expiration as to what you were supposed to do, or how on earth you were supposed to survive. Wasn't reincarnation supposed to be put displaced soul in a position of power, something to reward them or give them a head start in the life so that they could kick butt and be the greatest hero that could save the canon cast from a terrible fate or something. Wasn't the MCs supposed to know something about the world they were tossed into before moseying along and freaking up the timeline like a chaotic butthole they are? How was this fair? How was this fair? But you felt a creep. I felt a eerie chill settle on your tiny body as something you had never even considered before slid firmly into your mind, causing your long, high-pitched railing to scale up another alcove as your panic spiked with it. Was there a rule book that said reincarnated souls were supposed to get any of that? Chapter 2, Defunct and Default. If you had thought the room you had woken up in was terrifying, you were wholly unprepared for everything that was to come next. You will say this, though. You never thought a screaming panic attack would ever accomplish something useful, but useful it was. Well, useful was a strong word. Containing your wordless sobs and despair eventually attracted some attention. Something you were sure you would have realized if you weren't just randomly placed in some ash-colored void of a room with little fanfare as possible. The door slowly creaked open. Apparently rusted hinges on the door were easily squeaked out, a disapproval of being made to move at all, and you immediately went silent as you shook with the effort to keep the frightened shivering from escaping your throat. Why in? As soon as you heard the voice, you knew you'd give anything never to hear it ever again. It was the sound of it sounds so juxtaposed that you knew for a fact that it should exist. It was raspy yet smooth, thin but yet masculine, high-pitched yet guttural. Guttural. It was everything and nothing at once, echoing through your brain as if it was charcoal, scraping against the walls of your skull uncomfortably, and causing the smallest of whispers to escape from your tightly pressed lips. Even with the one word said, you had the oddest urge to claw your ears with the hopeful thought that maybe you rip them off and never have to hear it again. It froze as a form peeked over the side of a crib. Newborn eyes widened with shock as blurry image slowly came into focus the closer the person leaned in. All you were really sure of was that their head was big, gray circle. Other than that, nothing. No discernible features whatsoever. They didn't even have eyes. You were sure they had the expression most babies had when they first saw something new, only with a lot more terror and confusion. How are you feeling? Is your fever? You cringed violently as they opened their mouth again and spoke with a damnable voice, and reached in vain towards your ears to try and cover them with a pathetic whine. Oh, honey, they whirl out of sight as you squirm with discomfort on the bedding. Love, come back quick, the baby's awake. Oh no, you very loudly shriek your rejection for the being's actions, hoping your unholy screams would dissuade whoever you could hear sprinting their way towards your location. But as you see it, but as seemed to be an ongoing theme for this convulsion, this situation, it was all in vain. And speaking of ongoing themes, the bedroom door was slammed ajar, staring you further, and the voice, as well as the person that followed, the same yet somehow very different from the first, didn't make anything better. No face, no ears, gray skin, 4 fingers. Not real. Two cryptids, cryptids. That's the only way you could talk about them without making your situation your current nervous breakdown even worse, babbling excitedly as they loom over your crib. But none of what they were saying was even registering your overwhelmed mind anymore. Your mind began spinning. Your stomach felt clumsy, and you were sure your new tiny lungs were crying out from abuse of hyperventilation. Then you were picked up, empty, everything consisting of your frozen. As you were lifted off the cliff, your movements, your voice, even your very breath, as you struggled to comprehend what exactly you were feeling, or rather the lack of what you were feeling. The vacant, the thin baby onesie that you were clothed in should have prevented you from feeling anything besides direct skin contact, and you knew this. From Fidermatics knew this, really knew this, and yet, beyond the pressure of the creature's grip around your body, you couldn't feel anything. No warmth, no heartbeat, no humidity from any built-up moisture. Void. Your mind went blank as your cheek was nuzzled, your skin itching and crawling at the sensation of cold, clampy roughness. Skin to the filling, scrapes, scales, or paper mache being rubbed against your cheek. Your breathing picked up, heavy and pant, and your eyes flickered around for something, anything, to focus on, to keep from screaming bloody murder in the creature's non-existent ears. That's a mirror on the wall. You're the only baby in the building, in the room, in someone's arms. You were sure of it. They were most definitely your affection. Slow. You stared into the mirror. A gray featureless face stared back, hollow. And that's when you believed the dissociation started. Despite your initial action, time in your new life start out especially calm. The panic attacks became less and less frequent the longer you remained in this world. It was reasonable. It became increasingly clear that your terror-reduced tantrums weren't helping your situation out any. No matter how much you screamed, begged, or cursed whoever put you here, all in all, just a total waste of energy. You were pretty adept in your new life. A go with the flow or roll with the punches type. So eventually you just accepted your new situation, much like your past death. You don't think you would ever not be weird to think about, even if it was recurrent acceptance. And it took you 2 months to fully get to that point, and you still couldn't look anyone full on in the face. Yourself could. Still, finally forcing yourself to calm down and actually observe what was going on around you instead of screaming uncontrollably, while anything moved in your general direction, had allowed you to learn some things. Lion, the placeholder, evasion, you that stood for your name, like reader fanfictions and whatnot. Yeah, that was your actual name. Go frickin' figure. Judging from all the side chatter from the two human creatures, things you were caused quite a ruckus in their material one's belly, who you were now designating as M-Y-M, your mom, LL. One day, and caused her water break almost a whole month before your supposed due date. You were panicked. You had panicked and fought the whole way out of the room, only to keep going so all the way into a horrible fever that had kept you pretty much indisposed for about 2 weeks after. YD, your dad, had chalked, choked your central fit up after your actual awakening to hunger pain tantrums, since apparently they haven't been able to make you keep much milk down while ill, which was why you had been connected to an IV drip that had apparently been taken out a little before you woke up. Weird, to be honest. To give your sicky body, the nutrients it needed. That was their expiration, at least. You like to imagine the fever had happened since your body, and more importantly, your poor baby brain and nervous system had to accumulate and adjust to handle an adult mindset. A cool sci-fi expression that almost made up all the pain you had gone through Warfit. You had been sent to many medical specialists afterward, under parents' watchful non-gazes. You underwent many tests to assure that the fever hadn't cooked your brain beyond repair. Despite knowing you were fine, roughly speaking anyway, it's what you were going to stick with if you ever had to explain why your mind was so advanced for your age to someone a little more aware. After learning all that, you learned how to block all the drawing voices of those who existed in this world. Cause explain, surprise, it wasn't just you and your parents who were damned to be trapped in the most basic form of existence as could be. Oh, no. It was everyone. It was like you were born in a world that was housed unfinished NPCs or something. Friends and family swung by the house. The mailman. The old biddies that love gushing over your cute face at the park. The grocer at the convenience store. Heck, even the homeless person you could occasionally spy on your little baby Pim. When you parental units took you on walks for some fresh air. Not that it felt all that fresh, or like anything really. No one was safe from the neutral shaded affection. In fact, almost nothing was. Thankfully, the only color in the world came from practical things, such as the sky, or the sun, or the random flower here and there you would see on the occasional walks your parents took you on after they realized you were happiest when you were outside. Everything else, such as the building facades and the cars and other such things, were either black, white, or various shades of gray, and so much as it disgusted you, you realized you were relieved to finally have some light and shadows in your surroundings. So you took as a win, you knew. Just an itty-bitty one. It was soon after the acquired knowledge that you had to completely resign yourself to your new Bayesian, boring existence began to the tender physical age of 1 month. You were maybe the physical age of 3 months when you made accidental yet significant discovery. Brushing up on regaining control of your motor functions had been your first course of action in your new life. It was incredibly irritating not being able to control your movements the way you wanted to, and being aware of the difference. You couldn't even imagine how rage-inducing relearning to walk or talk was going to be. Arrogance is bliss, as they say. You were finally gotten a hang of actually keeping your head up for long periods of time without help, as much as getting a grip on objects within reach from you. Who would have guessed that the muscle memory worked like a guide for a brand new, untrained muscle? You couldn't remember the exact ages of average baby development, but you liked to think you were ahead of the game, given your secret mental advantage. Thus, your next course of action was to practice your hand-eye coordination, courtesy of a small rubber hand ball adorned with lovely red stripes that you found buried underneath the mountain of toys stashed in your baby room. As to why you were doing this, besides trying to reverse the loss of control in your own body, pure, brutal, undiluted boredom. You would have given anything to dare someone else to try being an adult stuck in an infant's baby body and see how entertaining it is. The parental units did their best to keep you entertained and tried to keep tabs on your milestones, even as they were getting the picture that you felt extremely uncomfortable while in their presence. Still, it was tough to keep entertained by toys that were meant for actual inference. They held some mandatory person-to-person playtime that you decided to indulge in, if only to keep them from taking you back to the doctor for more worried checkups. Being weirdly antisocial baby and all, you respected that they were trying to be good parents. Really, you did. But damn it, you had your limits. You may have been able to take the introvert out of their old life, but you can't take the introvert out of their set in ways. So currently you were placed in a living room playpen and were busy amusing yourself while your parental units conversed in the nearby kitchen. Truthfully, you were sitting with your back braced against one wall while carefully throwing and catching the ball. You trained your limp accuracy. It wasn't going too well. Your arm movements were still incredibly jerky, and you couldn't accurately gauge your arm strength while in such state, which made each attempt either too feeble or too powerful in the result, and you had to do a pitiful angry wiggle, still needing to relearn how to crawl to regain the ball. But you were going to stay determined. You had watched too many damn animes and video games to allow yourself to just give up. Your merely overactive imagination was liking you to a video main character starring their first adventure, despite how complete bullcrap your start was. I wonder if this was at all close to how Komoko-chan from a Spider, So What felt like when she first got her start. You sighed dismally. growing more and more lost in thought the longer he kept up the crazily repetitive exercise, and most definitely not for the first time since your rebirth. You begin to think about the loved ones you had left behind in your past life. What are they up to now, I wonder? Did Wilbro make out the building safe? Did the Cruzies, uh, aunties and uncles? Did Grandpa? I wonder if my internet friends knew about my death yet. I hope Mom let them know. I hate to think they believe I just up and start annoying them right from now on. I wonder if they miss me. Oh God, Mom, we were always so close. She must be considerably in inconsiderable right after. I hope she eventually move on. Can eventually move on. I hope they all do. Poke, poke, funk, funk, funk. You reached a shocked cry as a ball your stronger than intended throw bounced all the way off the playpen wall and proceeded to ricochet off a toy laptop keyboard, the floor, and then rocketed itself to your forehead. You thrilled as the impact knocked your poor little body off center. Turning dangerously on your tailbone in an attempt to regain your balance, but ultimately failed, went sprawling onto your back with a soft oomph, leaving your mouth. Wyatt, are you right? You felt a visual thunder crack your spine at the sound of the voice, hissing with dissatisfaction as you closed your eyes and did your best to roll over onto your stomach by yourself before the footsteps coming from the kitchen reached you. You didn't quite make it, though unabashedly closed your eyes in a stretch refusal of the sight you knew you were going to be greeted with when YD loomed over the edge of your playpen. Is she alright, dear? Yeah, she's fine. Looks like she accidentally knocked herself out. The ball she was playing with is outside the pin, so maybe she just threw it too hard and lost balance. Yes, that's definitely the expression instead of a super embarrassing thing I did. Yep, let's go with that. Oh, haha, poor thing, YBM chuckled with unconcerned amusement in the background. He gave a soft squeal of dismay as you felt large four-fingered hand wrap around your torso and carefully bring you back to your same position. Could you? Hurry on it, honey. One hand reached you while the other rested the flat of the palm against your back to stay you, and give you time to balance on your butt again. There we go, sweetie. A little more careful next time, yeah? Don't want you bumping your head. Oh God, thanks for the help and all, but please shut up. Let me go. Let me go and go away. You weren't angry, huh? Sound causing a man to do a little more than chuckle and let go of you as you found your center. All right, I'll give you your space now. You waited until you heard him turn and walk away before allowing yourself to open your eyes, frowning as you glanced away of the departing YD. She's so independent. We'll have to keep an eye on her on a tight leash when she's older. He huffed as they started laughing together before turning your now no-eyed glare over the ball that was indeed resting outside the playpen, mockingly out of reach. Well, guess practice time is over now. You could have at least put the ball back in here. He blew a small raspberry in disappointment, already feeling the cleaning syrup of boredom descending from the like molasses onto your mind, turning your head left and right to find something else to keep you distracted before you were served a bottle of milk for dinner. Wait, wasn't that toy laptop screen a tannish color before? Why is it black now? Your non eyes narrow suspiciously as you stared at a long moment before double checking the screen's flickers from black to illustrated. You could make out the illustration very well, though. It was something written in scratchy dark red lettering over it, and you'd think it was a heart. That was a black one side and a white on there. The laptop wasn't very far, maybe a foot or so. You could skim your way over there, couldn't you? Well, it was more of a shot try. Taking a deep, steady breath, you curl up your legs as far as they could go and tilt yourself forward, just barely managing to keep yourself from your pudgy little hand with your pudgy little hands and not face planting on the floor. You had to move back to the urge to grit your teeth, 'cause you didn't have any anymore. As your weak little arm shook with the effort to hold up your upper body. But damned if you'll be deterred. Flexing your fingers in a testing manner, you dug them into the carpet stubbornly, before slowly dragging yourself forward. Your underdeveloped muscles screamed with exhaustion as you picked up your legs against the floor to help propel you onward, and you had to press your lips tightly together to keep from shrieking with pain. The sheer difficulty of performing such a simple action was scarcely humiliating even, but somehow, way, you managed it. I'm going to be in pain tomorrow, you whispered mentally as you maneuver your way back to onto your bum, throwing your arms to keep your balance before releasing an overly disgruntled sigh. I hate this. You shook your head rapidly in an attempt to dispel the beating sweat you could feel on your forehead, reaching out to grip the corner of the computer toy and dragging the thing as far into your lap as you could manage. The damn object was almost as big as you. I had a feeling I'll develop a Neapolitan complex at this point. Your gaze finally landed on the fake screen and you froze. What? 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 Why is... An uncomprehending stare was your reaction to what you were seeing. A totally normal reaction if you dared to say it yourself. After all, no one could accurately expect for a title screen of a horror game to just flicker on into existence on the screen of a baby's plaything, right? Now, that sounded totally freaking bonkers, right? Now, how on God's green earth had something like this be possible? Surely it was a trick of the light. Or maybe the isolation of your circumstances had finally caused you to lose it. But nope. In fact, you were 100% that you were seeing was a title screen for a horror game because you had played what little of it had existed in your past life several times just to know what all the routes were. And even if you hadn't, and had only just been one of those curious fans who had watched playthroughs and looked at the art of the damn thing, no judgment, the character displayed bashing gray skin, thinner blue shirt with that particular heart symbol, and creepy wide grin was so recognizable you were able to pick him out anywhere. Peter. What the? With an utterly done screech of complex project rage, you threw your hands on the keyboard, not exactly sure what you had meant to do, but completely uncaring in the slightest as a result of the action. Consequently, this caused your hands to slam down on the keys, and Korean, happy with the abuse, the screen glitched several times before going completely black. Oh, oh no. Oh god, no. Oh frick. Please don't hurt me. I didn't mean to. And that's when the green text began to appear. Initialing startup. Startup successful. Connection established. Hello, new user. Your mouth fell open with a soft popping sound as you stared blankly at the green little words flashing on the screen like something out of the freaking Matrix. The little flashing text covered blinking in and out of sight as if waiting for you to do something. For what that was supposed to be, you weren't sure. Is it waiting for me to reply somehow? Your gaze ping-ponged back and forth with frantic bewilderment over the plastic blocky keys of the keyboard, wondering was just how to respond, because certainly whoever just messaged you couldn't possibly expect to use the idiotic thing to type a response, right? Am I just supposed to respond aloud? Wait, crap! I can't even talk right anymore. Crap. What the frick do I do? Your mental fretting was starting to catch some attention after a long minute of you freaking out, and their message scrolled on the screen. To communicate more accurately, please use the keyboard in front of you to type. You flinched. God, you hoped whoever this was couldn't read your mind. After robot coaxing with a shrieking, unstable finger and spiraling pressed U. Said letter probably appeared on the screen in black text box at the bottom of the screen. When did that get here? Oh my god, it actually works! And by the knowledge, you slowly approach the rest of the keys you wanted to press and calmly large enter button. Hi. Hello again. It took your brain a good moment to finally startle out of the buffering symbol. You could feel spinning inside it, but your jerky little fingers sure didn't waste any time, even if it was a hunt and peck cluster crap so far. Man, you hoped this person didn't think you were a dumb spaz. Sorry, kind of in shock right now. Understandable. Emily, I was believing we wouldn't be able to converse until you were of age to be allowed to use an actual computer. I believe such is not the case. You blinked in surprise, confused from frown caressing your features eyes as you proceeded to process those words before punching in your actual message. You word for me? Yes, I've been resigned. You waited for me? Yes, I've been resigned to weighing several of your ears before a conversation could happen. I can't directly contact you, as one of your kind can, and thus can only interact with you using this rather inconvenient medium. I'm sure you had many questions, user. As one in your position would. Allow me to answer what I may. Simply type your question into the keyboard and press enter. Then I shall answer what I can for you. Oh, holy cow. You were you could get answers finally? Oh, thank the cosmos. You were so thrilled that you were about to get some answers, that the idea of just how crazy this whole situation was never even crossed your mind. Perhaps your mind was compartmentalizing it for a proper breakdown later in the future. Until then, though, you were kind of forced to keep your questions concise, considering your current medium was crap for actual typing. But you were going to have to make do. What's going on? Am I like this? I'm afraid I don't understand the question. If you perhaps could phrase it a bit more clearly. He made a strangled noise amidst frustration, knowing that if you had any hair right now, you'll be pulling at it. Sorry, can't. Motor skills suck. Can't type well. He responded. The offer is in your weeping with depression at the soppy and broken message. They wrote, no less, he did not save your whole family and die. You did not save your whole family and die just to go through such torture. He wallowed in your moment of writing heck for a long time. Once again, damning your current situation slightly before picking back up. More message flickered on the electric wet veil. Yes, how could I forget? My serious apologies for not remembering something so vital. Allow me to fix that for you. I'm able to ensure grammar and spelling correction, seeing as your method of communication is less than ideal one moment. Ah, that was written like they were kind of embarrassed. You felt your brow furrow as you waited for a signal of what was about to happen. As for what, you didn't know, but after a few seconds of waiting in silence, you got it. An odd electrical tingle began to build up in the base of your spine, buzzing and vibrating with intensity that made you want to shiver. Slowly, the tingle flowed up your vertebrae and braced out amongst the uniform pathway across your whole body, leaving a trail of pleasant warmth in its wake. You didn't think you had ever felt so warm since you first woke up in the crib. The buzzing tingles collected at your fingertips, make it feel like needle points. You'd feel if a wimp fell asleep, and you waved them around to shake away the feeling. And then that's when you realized your body was moving exactly how you commanded it. You had your accurate and precise motor functions back. They had done that for you? Gosh, that was nice of them. Holy heck, thanks so much. I felt like I was going to go insane from how little I was able to control my body. He cheerfully typed out, sighing a sigh of relief flowed from you as you watched your chubby fingers fly across the keyboard with a pro panelist across the panel's keys. What's your name? Oh, you're welcome. I have many names. User, all dependent on those who dress me. You're welcome to call me whatever you like, within reason, of course. Well, that was kind of you, no-brainer. I'll call you Administrator X, or Admin X for short. Is that okay? Interesting choice. Why Admin X, if I may ask? Oh, well, with the way you're talking and the way you type and how you say you've been waiting for me to contact you, you kind of sound like an administrator. And X is just a cool letter to use as a name, you know? I always wanted to say I knew someone named X. Cool? Oh, whoever this was didn't get out much, did they? Yeah, like badass, mysterious, or something? Since you're not here, I have to no clue who or why you actually are. Um, is this too weird? Would you like to be called something else? No, it would suffice. Your questions, user? A bit short story. A bit short, aren't we? Aren't they? You prop your lips nervously on your gaze, flickered across the screen, your fingers hastily as you mentally groan how frickin' crazy this whole situation could be. Situation was turning out to be. Before you just decide to go for it. Who, where am I? I remember dying and then I woke up in a crib. I've been here for 3 months with no clue what's going on. A standard first question. You may have already noticed it within the standard menu title, but you have been reborn inside the world of your boyfriend, a horror erotic visual novel game. Whatever warmth you held within your miserable sack of a body was quickly drained away and replaced with ice. You knew that game. You had played the demo of the game, and it's not a universe you want to ever get personal first-hand experience in. You gotta be kidding me! I'm afraid not. Judging by your response and vitals, I assume you're feeling rather anxious. This is expected, even if the user's compatible world was a more hospitable one. Feel at ease, however. You may have plenty of tools at your disposal to assist you in at least surviving the world, if not archive an overall happy end. I will also attempt to assist you in any way possible. Ah, right. Like that was supposed to make you feel any better. Wait, that phrasing. It was almost as if your fingers quickly burrowed into motion. More hospitable worlds? Huh. Judging from your world choice, I'm going to take a shot in the dark here and assume I'm not the one who's gone through this spirit. And assume I'm not the only one who's gone through this experience. Ah, yes, a sharp one, I see. Such intuition will serve you well in the future. You're correct. You're not the only one who has been reborn in another world after receiving an abrupt and unfortunate end. That confirmation gave you real comfort, but you take what you could get. At least this wasn't just some random freak one-in-one chance of something. The continuation of little green letters regain your attention once again, much after. You are, however, a special case, shall we say. Special case? Indeed, normally, before a interdimensional information transfer, or I-edit for short, the previous world's data stored within a creature's mind and personality, such as yourself, is erased. Erased? And why is that? So that any new data created doesn't get corrupted or something? The response in your question came quick, as if being responded to was exactly by the decided by your ability to read in between the lines. Very obtuse. Such a message assured that no previous ideologies and memories interface with any new data being formed and cause any complications or paradoxes. However, the previous world's data stored within you had simply refused to be deleted. Why this was the case is unclear. The I edit cannot be halted once begun without the user's refusal to do so. Unfortunately, and since you had approved going on with the transfer, you were thus placed within the world with all your previous data intact. So you weren't supposed to remember your old life. That made sense the more you thought about it. How could you make unbiased and uninformed decisions to shape the new personality you were supposed to have if you already had an old one you're calling the shots? Guess arrogance always really was bliss. Oh crap. They were still typing. Due to this situation, I had placed it upon myself to keep a close watch on you as your new life unfolds. Worry not, however, I shall respect your privacy, and will allow you to make your choices as you fit. You will as well for in this life, and I can't change any decisions you make. Do you have any other concerns? Oh, you had plenty. Thank whatever program or God, the house, the sky. 'Cause holy cow, you were about to ready to lose your goddamn mind for being so clueless. Why is this world so bland and dull and gray? Why are people so vague? And why are the voices so weird? Why can't I feel any sensations beyond pressure? Ah, yes, allow me to clarify. You do recall the game from your past life, Colette? Yeah, had only recently found out what it was, but scrolled the internet for what information I could find because I quickly gained a hyperfixation for it. Is that important? You see, your previous world is referred as Destination 1000001, Omega Alpha, known as the very first of or original world. It is the world that links together all possible ones, the possible referring to the mental creation your kind is so fond of thinking into existence. Your boyfriend was designated as World Beta Delta Zelta 298402 was incomplete upon your ultimate dysfunction, and as such is missing crucial components that make the world more inhospitable than already originally intended. So far, only key points of interest, people and settings hold the resemblance of life within that of your own world. This will continue to remain until you meet in any one of the characters the game originally revolves around. However, I find it prudent to inform you that the visual novel games more often did not follow strict scripts for the games to be operable, and while the way the world will function or world events will happen may not strictly follow what happened in the VNG itself, it does follow it heavily. I must urge you to remember that while your new life is not a game, knowledge of these scripts and routes that they lead to could prove immensely valuable once the setting of the game begins. Well, yeah, oh, no duh. It only made sense, after all. Who wouldn't wanna know what the easiest route of the universe was and keep things all sunshine and rainbows if they were forced to play for the storyline? But since the game was incomplete, I don't have anywhere close to knowledge needed to make it through the game unharmed. Indeed, Which is why, considering the circumstances, I'm here to lead your assistance while you require it. Be warned, I am disallowed from offering any character-based assistance beyond any cosmic choices, as your decisions are what affected your stats, which I believe you pursued before connecting this channel. Adding or removing stats points could be interfering with your choices. Besides that, I'm able to provide assistance to all other matters. No, we hadn't even noticed a damn thing. But seeing as you didn't feel all that inclined to let X know about that little embarrassing tidbit, you just kept that to yourself. Even so, it was assuring you were terrified stiff that you somehow had to navigate the entire game with just basic knowledge that didn't even go past the kidnapping that in day 2. That was quite the leap. You mean day 3? Wait, hold up. Didn't you say cosmic choices? As in, I could choose not to be gray beanie baby looking thing from the little big planet for the rest of my life? Yes, I assumed the default gray mannequin-like creature of yourself and those around you had become somewhat unpalatable? That you have no idea. I'm going through huge withdrawals over here. Well, all you must do is change your appearance. Is find a mirror and double tap your reflection. Truly and translucent reflection surface will do. Doing so will automatically bring your standard menu, and you have the advanced appearance editor to do as you please. I hope such an answer is acceptable. Do you have any other questions? You frowned in thought, humming to yourself softly, before slowly typing out your next question. Why was I reborn as a baby, where I have to wait for the game to start instead of being transferred to a whole adult body? Wouldn't that be more decisive? Inquisitive one, aren't you? Quite delightful. I had my hopes for your survival. Gee, thanks. As I'm certain you had noticed, not all worlds the user can connect to are benevolent in nature. Users are reborn in harsher, more malicious worlds are presented with a choice by their overseer once they made contact with them. Option 1, you may choose to proceed immediately to the start of the storyline, as I believe your kind calls it, and live out your new life as originally intended. Choosing this will give you a preset number of stats points that is fair for your situation. Option 2, you may choose to proceed with life as you know you are now, and use such free time to lead up to the start to pad your stats as it were to better prepare for whatever tribulations you may come across in the future. To you having reached this channel, I can offer this choice to you now. Which option sounds more appealing to you? Take your time. I know it's a hard choice. Well, that was the question of the day, wasn't it? Now you had to be honest. Your first knee-jerk reaction was to say option 1. Get me the crap out of the gray heck, and while anything is better than this, please and thank you. But somehow, however, you steeled your fingers from typing out something you regret, and it took a moment to really think about it. From what little you knew about the YB game. In your past life, you knew that Peter was a absolute beast. The guy was practically as supernatural as he could get in a setting of a game like this, like his. Being aware that he was in that game and all was unnaturally strong, sneaky, hell smart, and likely pretty fast too. You knew nothing of of his consolation, but you knew everything of what lengths he was willing to go over to keep his main goal from ever being separated from him. Now, also known as you. You hadn't even been anything special in your past life. You had been a bit of strength, but you weren't practically athletic. You had intelligence that leaned more towards books and emotional status of people rather than straight up street smarts. And you weren't exactly the best fighter either. Your talents were rested mostly on arts and crafts, or designated friend and family emotional mop department. And you knew it. You had to be crafty, sure, but you're mostly employed that skill in writing out storylines and coaxing a dissolute friend into eating something and getting some rest. The previous you would have no chance against Peter. But the new one you could, if you planned it right. The game's basic storyline started once MC decided to move out of their home to go to college and live in a new town with a roommate and work at Dad's damn diner. That was it. Very vague, not very specific. With enough manhandling, various mippling of said vagueness, you could just have the chance to avoid moving to the town altogether. And even if you couldn't, you were just a goddamn 3-month-old baby. Even if you had to move out exactly on your 18th birthday and finesse your way through the game, you had literally several years to prepare for Peter's shenanigans. You could do sports, martial arts, learn how to make traps and countermeasures to make sure that yonder circle headman couldn't lay a single finger on you, or frickin' go out trying. And if you played your cards right, you could even help him. That was a big bout of wistful thinking, and you knew it. Even so, you couldn't help it. You had to admit, you had been a bit of fangirl when you first found the game, and had been incredibly attracted to Peter despite him being that crazy antagonist of the entire damn thing. And call you stupid or foolish or whatever, but I felt like you had a pretty good grasp of his general mindset now. Here he was, a guy that had somehow become the only one to gain sentence in a game that had little to no color in it. Forced his mechanics to have feelings for a player character, and only knowing that his entire little existence depends on him willing the player enough to make them like him and dang him to give him a happy ending that is violent. Essentially unstable, incredibly lonely, and likely to despairing character like himself could only dream of having. You had only known this life for 3 months, and you already felt liable to snap, but that's because you knew the world better than this, had experienced it, unknowingly took it for granted. But knowing that you were stuck in such existence with no escape for several years, spanning way into your young adult age, with a world that promised so many better things, experiences always just outreach. No wonder he was violent. No wonder he was unstable. No wonder he was desperate to hang out to the MC with such a living, breathing fiber. He was made out of and never let them go. He was in such constant pain, and damn if your bleeding heart didn't want to do something about it. He wanted to help. He wanted to give him solace. He wanted to give him a shoulder to cry on, an ear to vent to. But to do that while also having the best possible chance of surviving the deal, a gaze glanced at the ashen walls around you, and you shivered. Someone like me could hardly ever withstand amount of sensory deprivation I'm willing to starting an eye right now for the thought a stranger I had fangirled over in a whole other world. Would I even make it? Would I even be me by the end? Or would I become just like your fingers lifted cautiously over the keyboard of your stilted answer? I don't know. Could I have a chance to think about it, all the pros and cons, and come back to you with an answer later? The latter reasonable request. Very well. I shall wait your answer for when we next converse. Do you require anything else? No, that's all I need. You felt yourself hesitate before mentally going crap it and continue. Thank you for answering my questions, though. I appreciate it. Your mama didn't raise a rude person. Besides, I couldn't hurt to stay on what was moment to God's good side, right? God's good side, right? How very bright. It's a burn it burned me not to elevate some of your concerns. Do feel free to contact me again on this channel again anytime by pressing the number 0 rapidly. Should any more questions arise from you. Until next time, user, press B to unpause. When ready, standing by. He stared somberly at the screen as the black faded black into the normal pale tan color. For your now much stronger grip, stronger fingers curl and clench into your dull onesie. Is this the point where I say I'm totally screwed? Chapter 3. To be or not to be a procrastinator. Am I sure this is the path I want to take? It had taken you 2 days to fully process everything that happened. You've been usually quiet during the length of time besides specific circumstances, giving you often had to throw outright tantrums to get your lovey-dovey parent unit's attention. So much so that you had caught a whisper or two on how they were beginning to get concerned. In fact, as they laid you down to sleep a few minutes ago, they had placed a baby monitor on top of the dresser, tipped in your direction. It was going to be a goddamn pain to try to keep up appearances as a normal child, so you didn't end up getting experimented on in some underground government facility. Hey, it could happen. You had literally been reborn in a whole other world you had believed to be fiction. At this point, you weren't discounting anything to be impossible. The first several years will be the most difficult for sure. If I don't keep myself occupied in some shape or form, I'll quickly go insane. And if I lose my ability to make rational decisions, then once I get to the actual start of the game, I can make things a whole lot worse. But if I just jet ahead, I'll be at the mercy of just as bonkers character in a storyline I didn't even know the ending to. God, I knew I always imagined myself as protagonist of a fictional a fictional adventure, but this quickly turned into a pain in my butt. You rolled over to flop onto your stomach, head pillowed into your crossed arms as you deliberated on what to do. Truthfully, the most logical answer was clear, but you weren't too sure if you were prepared for the consequences of taking that awful commitment. My hands are tied, though. If I want to survive with all my limbs intact, I gotta try to hang on for 18 years. At the very least, it's a really long time. Even so, the other option is hardly any better, possibly losing a leg days after just regaining the ability to walk would suck so hard. Your gaze flickered towards the toy computer resting beside you, looking as innocent as it can be in the dim light of the moon shining through your window. Besides it was a little toy mirror with one of those that had been formerly attached to an even bigger toy. Obviously, the thing was twice the height of you. That had one of those bouncy seats in the middle of a parental. The parental units had thought would look so cutesy wootsy if you were in it. The reason as to why it was no longer attached to said bigger toy was because you had deliberately leaned your whole body weight on the damn thing unit until you actually managed to wedge it clean off. Why? Well, see, as it could help you change your appearance. Something you desperately want to be able to do at a moment's notice. It might have unconsciously developed into a comfort thing. You could still feel the panic reaction lingering from the depths of your mind from remembering the moment you were forced to be separated from them. Not to mention it felt good to take your anger and frustrations out on something. But back to the original point, the same thing couldn't be said for the little computer. The fit you had through just to keep your new parents from taking the items from you during your bedtime routine would likely be more embarrassing thing you'd ever do in your new life, and you were sure you'd agonize and cringe over it sometime in the future. But had gone you things back, so until then, you mark it down as unfortunate but necessary and keep it pushing. You hadn't realized you had begun reaching out for the objects until your fingers brushed against the smooth plastic shells of the fake computer, snapping you out of your sullen appearance of the moment. You frowned as you traced a lazy circle into the surface, disgruntled by the reminder of your dampened sense of feeling. It was a real sensory deprivation. No wonder all the memories should have been erased. Knowing what I'm really missing out on is going to be my total deterrent if I go down this path. You're stalling, you know. You flinched at the thought, slid sardonically into your head, gumming your lower lip anxiety in response. Yeah, I guess I am. By just trying to make this out all the way through. You've been at it for 2 days. You're looked at this from every possible angle. At this point, you're just really a chicken. You felt yourself frown at the comment, just barely holding back the urge to pout. Hey now, there's no need for that kind of name calling. When are you going to be a big girl and make your decision already? Well, I mean, that's literally what I'm doing. No, it's not. If it was, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't even be having this conversation in the first place. I'm alone here. Who the heck even are you? Come on, dumbass. You literally just answered your own question. Keep up here. It's you, obviously. What? Think about it for a sec. Genius, you've been reborn in a in-hospital world that's hardly anything but gray, with a batshit insane yawn there, waiting for you as the grand finale. You know that sometimes the human brain does wacky crap in order to make sure it can survive traumatic situations. Heck, you read about it in your own stories. It's not so much of a reach to assume that your brain cracked a bit to keep from completely staring later on. So what you're saying is I'm definitely starting to lose it. No friggin' duh. I know you've been hearing me for a while now. It's not like I'm quiet. How did you not know I'm here? Well, excuse me for thinking the only voices that would be in my head are me, obviously. Okay, you know that. You know what? That's fair. You huffed, with vindication at getting won over the rude voice, even if it was you. Like you knew you had always been the toughest critic. Your toughest critic. But damn, grumbling softly to yourself, yeah. So anyway, if you could possibly screw off, perhaps, to where exactly? I literally live in your mind. I don't know, the subconscious or something? Joy and sadness from inside out managed to do it. Do you have any idea what weird crap wanders around those parts? I'll be damned if I go down there. Look, if you have anything of any actual value to actually add to my making decisions, making this decision, then buzz the heck off. This is already difficult enough without you being a freaking sassy Susan. Fine. One last thing though. A disappointing groan rumbled through your ribcage, your head falling back into your arm with despair. Oh, good. Oh, stop your complaining. Just wanted to give you the advice you asked for. You want it or not. Even if I say no, you'll give it anyway, I'm sure. And you'll be right. So here's the rub. Before you take the coward's way out, think about your past life and how you went through it. What that's supposed to mean. Just think about it. You're a smart cookie. When you make a decision, factor it in whether or not you want to be the same person you were back then, too. You got a whole new life now, and even if it's not ideal, I would try to make it count if I were you, which I am. That's all I gotta say. And with that, the other you went silent. At first, you were irritated at the quiet implication that you had lived your previous life poorly. Why, if you really you're talking about yourself too, you know. I lived a great life. I had friends and a family who loved me and wished the best of me, no matter how much I messed up. I had everything I needed, and I had a good enough job to get anything I wanted within a timely, expected manner. I was content. I was happy. I hadn't been meant for anything great, even though my family all told me I was. I had known that since I was middle school. I had never understood why they thought that. I knew they were all wanting me to succeed no matter what I put my mind to. If I want to do it, might as well be the best at it, right? But even then, so long as I was happy, they were, and I was. I might not have been able to do all the great things I wanted to do, sure, but I was fine with that. I settled, knowing I wanted a peaceful life, surrounded by my loving family. As long as I had them, I was happy. I was. Right? You felt your brow furrow as you decided to put some real thought into it. That was at least one upside of your situation. Impulsiveness was pretty much non-existent when you couldn't really act on your impulses at the moment's notice anymore. I was never an impulsive person before, but I feel like it's gonna bite me in the butt at some point. Shaking your head to rid yourself of the stray thought, you did your best to think about your former self in as much of an object light as possible. You were calm, polite, and even quite individual towards strangers. You liked to follow the rules because you figured they were there for a reason, so much so that you would follow instructions for cooking a dish that to the letter, in fear of frigging it up by adding some extra seasoning. Man, you missed your mom's cooking. You were a shut-in, having suffered almost crippling social anxiety ever since the heckish years of middle school. The combination of severe depression, bullying, and puberty hormones had been a whole lot to deal with, and really only left the house to head to work or when you were craving specific foods. You had feared a lot of things. You had to admit, a big one was the fear of failure. There was always someone by your side, ready to root you on and have your back, that honestly, perhaps you folded from the pressure at all. You would always be so afraid of the possibility of your royally messing up something you wanted to do. In the end, you just never put any effort to things at all, regardless of importance. A lot of time, actually, you still enjoy getting on your beloved's mother's nerves because you kept procrastinating, actually getting behind the wheel and driving. It had made sense to you at the time because not only did you not trust yourself, clumsy woman that you were, you also didn't trust other drivers around you, and people's lives were on the line when you were on the road. So, just so much pressure. Still though, how many times did I let something great pass me by because I was too nervous to fail, to make a grab for it? And building on that, how much times did I do the exact same thing out of empathy? You weren't early on that caring about things often caused you stress, whether it was rushing to get everything done within a deadline, trying to take down a friend from doing something rather final, or just your anxiety and depression freaking you with your mind and trying to convince you that you weren't so helpful as you like to think, and all your loved ones secretly hated you. Yeah, you constantly stressed out. No thanks to your faulty brain that just refused to take serotonin or understand the small complexities of social interactions. And when you cared for someone, you tended to care with your whole heart. It didn't take much for you to get attached, but it took a lot for you to cut someone loose. And as to be expected, that had made up with your kindness being taken advantage of a fair amount of times. You had winced up, some closer to wised up closer to the end of your life, sure, but it was no secret your most favorite wish was that everyone you loved could one day be content and happy in their lives. You had a bleeding heart that was always worn on your sleeve, and everyone you had considered part of your family knew it. Maybe that was why I had such a huge protection squad. The thing was, you recognized it too, and with your tendency to give away big pieces of your heart to those you loved, there wasn't much left to care about yourself as you deserved. Your opinion of yourself hasn't been the been the best, it hadn't been the worst either. For a good few years before your death, at least, it just was. In your mind, your self-worth had been immediately attached to your ability to help others. And beyond that, what did you have? Once you got past the affinity for the arts and your ability to morph into a human tissue, for anyone at a moment's notice, who was the person that lived your past life? You. You couldn't really answer that. You had been such an empathetic person to the people around you, but most cruelly empathetic towards yourself, because when it came down to it, you didn't have the compassion for you. You had never really cared about yourself at all. Maybe that's why you would wake up and immediately check on your friends the first thing in the morning. Maybe that's why you would look in the mirror and feel no attachment to the person staring back at you. Maybe that's why you had always let great opportunities pass you by like you knew you didn't deserve them. Maybe that's why I just let myself die. You hadn't realized tears were building up in your non-existent eyes until they trailed slowly down your cheeks. The odd incandescence of the liquid hardly affecting your skin at all. Even if you weren't so crazy about who you were, there were others who cared about you, weren't there? People who loved you. People that would have been a pain to warn of your death. You could feel your heart aching at the thought. You hated the idea of causing others pain, accidentally or no. Many people did. How many people did I hurt by not trying to hold on to life, as tightly as I could? Do I really want to live a new life that same way? You quietly reached out for the computer once more, hesitating a moment before gripping at the corner with your stubby little fingers. I should at least try to live life to the fullest, for the ones I loved, and for myself. I made a decision, I see. Yeah. We'll regret this, you know. Dragging a toy closer to you and flipping it open, you gave a soft sigh, rubbing your wet cheeks and pressing your shoulders to dry them. Either decision we could have made here, or regret. Just have to make the most of it now. And that was Fear Me Not. I'm gonna put the link for the fanfiction in the description and in the pinned comments. If you like my content, please consider subscribing and liking the video, and I'll see you guys next time.